Oh, look at you talking to people in the course of your day.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
Here, it's the Final Transmission podcast. It's me, Sam Russo. It's Jamie Carruthers. It's
Hello.
one horror movie a week from the dawn of time until the end of time. And it's Miguel Chen month. Hi, Jamie. How are you?
I'm great. Really good. How are you?
Glad to hear it. Fantastic. Top of the world. Very excited to dig into installment number 2
3.
of Miggy Month. Installment number 3 of Miggy Month. I forgot about last week. Sorry, it just wiped from my mind completely because I drank so much at the weekend.
That's okay. Miggy Month continues. We're talking about
Rages on.
We're talking about a fairly recent film, and one that I've seen an inordinate amount of times, considering it came out in 2024.
More than once, this film.
This is watching it for this podcast today was my 5th time.
Jamie, you are a fucking monster. Do you know that?
Yeah. Do you know what I think the world needs less than anything else in the world is 2 bald men in their 40s talking about this movie. But it's what Miguel has asked for. Who are we?
I see.
Who are we to deny our audience?
You're going to just subtly shift, if not blame, then accountability onto somebody else.
Look,
entirely.
Once again, 40-year-old white guy, I'm not taking accountability for anything.
I am not to blame. Yeah, I mean, we're just doing our best, okay?
Yeah.
And if we have to talk about this movie, which is ultimately... I mean, listen, I'm a big believer that movies are for everyone, and everyone's allowed an opinion, and... I don't know how to defend this indefensible position you've put me in. But listen, I think at the very least... it's a good thing to express feelings about things, right? It's good practice.
Well, let's start off by saying we're covering The Substance. You probably already know this because you've seen the title of the episode, but we're talking about The Substance from 2024, directed by Coralie Fajar, starring Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley, Dennis Quaid, and basically nobody else.
Yeah.
I love this film, right? I really, really like it.
The fact you'd watched it 5 times didn't necessarily, doesn't mean much. Like, yeah.
No.
But I'm glad to hear the 2 things marry up, yeah.
This is going to be one of those episodes where it sounds like I hated the movie because I'm going to say right now that this film does not hold up to any scrutiny.
Okay, 5 watches, I guess, maybe holes start to appear, sure.
I mean, when I go through the holes with you, you'll be like, yeah, this is fucking stupid. But when I'm watching it, none of that matters.
Right, okay. Well, that, feels like every movie that I like ever, pretty much. I like the idea of going through the holes with you, Jamie. I'm excited to see what that entails.
Yeah, let's hope a boob doesn't fall out of one of them.
I don't know. Don't speak for me, bud. Okay.
What about, so had you seen The Substance prior to Miggy's pick?
No, Claire watched it when I was in the studio recording this album because I was going through my text trying to figure out, because you said that she'd seen it and you'd discussed it, and I was like,
I thought you both watched it, but yeah.
No, I was in the studio, so she sent me a load of messages that were like, fuck me, holy shit. And obviously she was like live texting me while I was recording, so I didn't see the messages till afterwards. And then I do actually remember talking to her about it. So no, I hadn't seen it until it was put on the Miguel Chen roster, at which point I dutifully strapped in as instructed by Jamie and gave it my full attention. And
this was one that I said that you needed to watch on the big telly with the best sound possible.
Yeah, no hunching in the backseat of a van with my phone or some ridiculous nonsense like that. This is a deep dive, a research project, and a full 100% attention style viewing, which is my favorite kind. It's really the only kind, and the way I don't really feel like I'm watching a film unless I'm doing it that way, to be honest.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you found the time to do it properly because I think it really deserves it.
Oh, anything for the pod, Jamie.
Well, that's just not true, is it? Edit 1 episode.
No, absolutely not. Almost anything for the podcast. As long
I
as
would
it
do
doesn't
anything
involve-
for the pod, but I won't do that.
I'll do anything for the podcast except the podcast.
Except anything beyond turning up and watching the film.
And I and I barely do that. Yeah, listen, it's a big ask, Jamie. It's a tall order.
Yeah. So, was this film on your radar? I mean, obviously, you'd had these messages from Claire, but like prior to that, was it a film that would? Obviously, there was a lot of hype around this movie when it came out. It also was up for Oscars. I know that we know
Yeah.
that Oscars aren't the be all and end all, but it does.
We love the Oscars.
I cut all the Oscar stuff out of the episode that we talked about the Oscars, so 'cause
okay.
it was really boring. The episode came out like a year after the Oscars.
Yeah, it doesn't age well. Yeah, the wrong Oscars were happening when the episode came out. Yeah, no, I was aware. I was very much aware of this, and I knew all I really knew about it is that a lot of people I like and respect really liked it, and it was essentially a body horror movie that touches on ideas of aging and body image, and a bigger picture idea of exploitation and disposability of fame.
Yeah.
But I only really picked up on that from sort of listening to other people talk about it. I hadn't seen any footage, or thankfully, I think I'd avoided all like stills and trailers and everything. I might have seen a trailer at the cinema at one point, but I don't think the trailer gave much away, and I don't remember it. So I was going in blissfully clean, as I like to be. And yeah, all I really knew is that I was in for somewhat of an intense experience that had been conveyed to me by several people, including Miguel, actually. But I didn't really know in what shape or form that was going to arrive. So I was very interested to see where this went. And I'm not familiar with Coralie Fajo's work beyond this. So totally brand new to the style and the whole kind of... the whole spectrum of things that seem to be happening in her oeuvre.
Yeah, well, this is the second Coralie Fajo film that we've covered on the podcast, but you weren't here for the last one. That was when
exactly
when Sarah of Shoot the Hostage dutifully filled in. We covered Revenge, which is our most listened to episode of the podcast. Just FYI,
tells you everything you need to know. Well, wait till I edit one. Wait till you finally slip the reins and let me edit. Core, blimey.
You can edit as many as you want, mate. I would
that's
kill
what
for
I've done.
those 6 hours back.
No thanks. Nah. So, I mean, the fact that you watched it 5 times and the fact that you've already said you liked it tells me basically everything I need to know. But I am keen to know what it was like for you going in the first time, which is what I'd like to start with.
Okay.
Do you remember the first time you saw this?
I do remember my first time. It was a scream unseen at the Odeon.
Oh, great.
So, I mean, I knew it was going to be The Substance. You always know what they're going to be, even though they're meant to be kind of a secret. But I had a pretty good idea it was going to be this. It was in 2024, so it was just before it came out on full release,
Yep.
and I was blown away by mostly the sound of it. The reason that I wanted you to sort of experience it in the most cinema-like way possible is because the sound in the cinema, the experience of watching it in the cinema with that surround sound, like, it was just so horrible.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll get into spoilers and stuff later. I don't think Dennis Quaid eating shrimp is a spoiler, but in my memory from the first time watching it in the cinema, that scene went on for ages. It felt like 4 hours of my life just watching him eat that shrimp.
And it is actually relatively quick, isn't it? I had the exact same experience. I know exactly, like, it's obviously sensorily very uncomfortable, and it's very close, and it coupled with the visuals, like, neither on their own is particularly disturbing, but it's a wonderful marriage of the two, and that kind of happens throughout the whole film. But I felt exactly the same way watching that scene as I did watching the whole of Inland Empire. I just remember thinking Inland Empire is 400 years long because it's torturous. It's not boring. It's just, there's something so visceral about the experience of watching it that it feels like it goes on forever.
You're the second person to mention Inland Empire to me today. That's weird, isn't it?
Interesting. Oh, look at you talking to people in the course of your day. I haven't talked to a single human in about 3 days, I don't think.
It was so I'm guesting on Shoot the Hostage relatively
Right.
soon, and I'm doing Lost Highway.
Ah, yeah. Of course.
And Sarah messaged me today and was like, "Should I sit through? Do I need to, or is it worth my time to go through Inland Empire?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but in a ocean of incomprehensible bullshit, it's his most obtuse." So
I was going to say, how mean are you? Did you say yes or no? Basically, you're very mean. You said yes.
I said yes, but I gave her an out.
Yeah. I mean, it's a similar. There's not a lot that's similar between these two films. It just there's some sort of deeply disturbing, disquieting closeness and disorientation, I guess, partly that comes with the level of intensity you get when you're so involved in bodily functions.
Yeah.
And when you're forced to confront the sort of essentially vile nature of all human function. I feel like the fact that we're even able to tolerate each other is a massive feat of marketing.
Yeah.
Interpersonal marketing. Because there's some scenes in this movie where basic bodily functions are just completely abhorrent to the eye and the ear.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty wonderful perspective shift. And wonderfully portrayed. But yeah, Quaid on his shrimp platter.
Yeah. Also, when you're the wall POV, I guess, of the bathroom wall just above the urinal, like,
Yeah.
I don't need to be that close to Dennis Quaid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great. There's something sort of. I always find fisheye equal measures disturbing
Delicious.
and hilarious, and that's this whole movie.
Yeah.
You know, it is totally the sum of its parts. It's both. It's it's both those things, and it is. It uses all of those devices that we know create that feeling of just really uncomfortable proximity.
Yeah.
And that's coming from someone who quite likes human proximity. So, fucking hell. Yeah, a lot to dissect in this bad boy.
Okay, so I'm getting a vibe from you that you liked The Substance.
I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, that so much to love.
Yeah.
In the agony and torture of watching this film.
Good. I wasn't sure because obviously, are we gonna get woke this episode? Are we gonna be woke, guys?
You're always woke. You're 24/7 woke master, grandmaster woke,
Grandmaster woke, yeah, woke master general.
grand wizard woke.
So the
You
answer
ask
is
the
no.
woke people what the grand wizard is to the KKK.
My only
So
real
close.
my only real knowledge of the Grand Wizard of the KKK is from that Body Count song,
Oh, really? Nice.
which is called KKK bitch.
I've got a funny story about body count for another time. Maybe for the Patreon.
Yeah, let's save that shit for the Patreon. If you want to hear the body count story, you want to hear Sam's body count, then head over to patreon.com/final transmission and drop 5 buckaroos and you'll get that in video or audio format along with video and audio uncut content from this episode and many, many others like it.
Smooth.
So, yeah, trigger warning for us getting woke. How about that?
Speak
Although-
for yourself.
I'm not sure that people will do so much to try and make themselves look young / more beautiful that they actually become hideous monsters is a super woke message. But
No, not at all. I think that is a message that is as old as the human consciousness. That's Lorca,
Yeah.
It goes back a long way. That idea goes a long way back. Yeah, of course. Biblical.
yeah. But this movie is obviously primarily about the sort of female experience, the experience that women have of society. I guess because, like, Dennis Quaid is allowed to be as gross as he wants. And that kind of
Yeah.
that kind of juxtaposes
Well, there's a lot
that.
of contextual caveats to that whole idea, isn't there? It's placed in essentially a Hollywood style, a fame celebrity style frame for a reason. It's very uniquely female, the experience that's depicted in the movie, and it's if it has a political thrust, if it has a socio-political angle, it is drawing some pretty stark lines between the experience of men in those environs and the experience of women side by side, and often really painfully and sometimes hilariously. So as much as, some people might dismiss this movie as having some of that, I don't know what dumb people really talk about, but like if people are calling this woke, they're wrong.
Yeah.
I just think that's very dismissive and sells the movie 3 million miles short of its actual impact.
I also, famously, men don't have body image issues at all. Like, me and you would never, ever have any issues with our body, right?
Well, we're perfect.
Exactly.
We're perfect specimens, obviously. Yeah.
Whew. Why don't, Sam, why don't you give us a synopsis and then we'll take a break and then we'll come back and get into spoilers?
Fuck me. Okay. Yeah, I can do that for you, my friend.
Are you going to read it from the IMDb?
I would never. So there's Elizabeth, right? There she is. She's in the later stages of her career as a television fitness dancer. Aerobics, primarily, it looks like to me. And she's having a hard time. She looks like she's struggling a little bit with the process of reaching a final chapter in life whereby her career may be ending. And she's possibly going to be eclipsed at some point by somebody younger, and she's not coping too well with that. So she seems quite lonely. We see a woman who's going through a fairly lonely period in her life, and then wham, out of nowhere, she's T-boned by a speeding vehicle and ends up in the hospital. And in the hospital, she encounters a strange young man who essentially slips her some information about a black market drug that can potentially cause her to be reinvigorated or youthed in some way. She's not sure how, why, or what this entails, but she slowly slips down a deep, dark rabbit hole of obsession, vanity, self-flagellation, and emerges from the cocoon of her own skin changed.
Very good. That might be some of your.
I can do.
That might be some of your best synopsis work, Sam.
I wouldn't say best, but borderline coherent and in some way representative of what happens in the film. That's the best I'll give myself there.
I think that's fine. Should we take this break then? In fact, before we take a break, let's just take a moment to appease our insect overlords at redscare.net.
Let's do it. Let's take a moment to look to the heavens and say redscare.net is the place for you to conjure and summon all of your musical desires into existence. You do so by giving them money and they will post you things. Redscare.net, some great releases coming up over the summer. Get stuck in, enjoy yourself. It's great.
Yeah, if you want to feel younger and reinvigorated, all you have to do is pop on one of those LPs.
Yeah, pop on a vinyl record by a band that last released something 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Have yourself a good old time.
If you want to feel young, take a look at some of the bands on Red Scare. That's it. That's what you need to do.
That's the way. We are essentially selling the substance. So
yeah.
Open your spine.
I mean, those records are very substantive.
Aren't they just?
Redscare.net. Go there. We'll take a break and we'll get back in. We'll come back and get into spoilers relatively soon.
Let's do it.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
I am back, Sam. Are you back, Sam?
100% back. Back, split open, lying on the bathroom floor.
Yeah, we're in spoilers for The Substance now, which everybody has seen, so it's probably okay. But if you haven't seen it, we're in spoilers now. It's a great movie, isn't it? Really good.
Spoilers! It fucking rules. It's absolutely relentless, is my first note. There's no let up. There's plenty of pacing breaks, and there's so much ebb and flow. But there is never, quite literally never, nothing happening or nothing sort of stimulating the growth of the movie. You know, there's just never a single beat where I think, fuck, where's this going? Like, everything is really tense and terse and pulling in a very singular direction. And there's still enough sort of mystery and unpredictability that you don't feel like it's a foregone conclusion, that you know exactly what's going to happen at the end. And I'd be amazed if anyone watched this for the first time and knew exactly where it was going.
I mean, you've got an idea that it's not going to go well.
No, it's not going to end well. But to what extent is there mercy? None is the answer. But that's the question that you're sort of wrestling with the whole way through the movie, right? Because I really like this protagonist from the very, very beginning. I think Elizabeth is so relatable and so incredibly likable that you think it's not gonna be that bad, right? Surely she'll come out of this somehow alive. No, wrong.
Yeah, she explodes, covers an auditorium of people with blood,
and then her weird face melts on the floor.
Yeah,
and gets swept up by a buffer. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, by a street cleaner.
It's truly unbelievable.
Yeah, it's... Like I say, I don't think any of this holds up to any scrutiny.
Right, and I'd love to know why. I think a good format for this episode is if you just pull this apart like shit dough and we all just watch the magic fall apart before our eyes.
Okay. Well, let me start by asking you... This movie is basically a cautionary tale, right, about wanting this sort of unattainable beauty and how chasing that will ultimately be your undoing.
Yeah, and there's a lovely subtle message in there about appreciating yourself with all your flaws, because there will inevitably be a time further down the line when you look back at the person that you are now, when you're having these feelings of self-doubt and think, I fucking had it all then. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, that kind of thing.
But I think controversially, I wouldn't take the substance if it was me.
Well, having seen this film, I don't think I would either.
Like, maybe I'd do it for a day just to see what happened. But
I don't think you're allowed, mate. I don't think it's a one and done deal.
I don't think a younger, sexier version of me
exists.
is a good thing. No,
no, me neither. And that's one of the really interesting kind of points of pathos of the movie, is that I think I'm not saying I'm a well-rounded individual or that I have a healthy relationship with myself, but I watch her making these mistakes in the exact same way you watch a slasher final girl making what you think are terrible mistakes in a slasher movie. Don't do it. Don't go down there. And it places you in a position of gratitude almost watching this movie, because you know that you wouldn't do that, or you sort of hope that you would never end up in a position of such self-loathing, essentially, that you would do that to yourself.
Yeah.
And
do you think that point is undercut by the fact that it's Demi Moore and she's the hottest 60-year-old woman that's ever existed?
Out of this world. Once again, Hollywood, you've fucked yourself from the jump. With an utterly unbelievable scenario, but no, it is a fact and a thing, and I think it's quite a well chosen role for Demi Moore, because the fact that she is so gorgeous amplifies the ridiculousness, really, of that kind of vanity. You know, you can be absolutely stunning to other people, and inside be completely rotting to the point where you're caving in on yourself in every aspect of life. I think it's I do really think it adds to it that she is, and she's a phenomenal actress. I think I've read a lot online about this movie that says this is her best performance, and she's done a lot of garbage up until this point, and I couldn't really. I mean, some of the films aren't good, I don't think, but that's personal preference. I do think she's a really wonderful actor, and there was something about the role that I think, once you've seen someone in a movie, it's hard to imagine anyone else doing it, obviously. And normally the only way it can be improved is to replace that person with Nicolas Cage. And I don't think that applies in this movie. I think she absolutely owns it.
I think Sue could have been Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, true. I mean, everyone in this movie could have been Nicolas Cage, and it probably would have been better. But that's not taking anything away from any of these wonderful performers.
I'm just thinking that if you took the substance and Nicolas Cage came out of your back and then hosted your your aerobics TV show, you would definitely have him do the New Year's gala, wouldn't you?
Of course you would. Yep, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
No,
All right, so
the casting is fucking mint. It felt to me like
it's a really funny way of saying fucking mint.
I mean, it is. I don't want to be too woke here. I've got to bring in some grounding expressions to make people remember that we're human. It made me think of how surprising I found the casting of Birdman. When I first watched Birdman, I thought there were some wonderful choices of roles
You mean
in that movie.
Dan Harmon's voice in Rick and Morty?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, that's Bird Person, isn't it? Sorry.
That is Bird Person. And because Birdman is it's a bit more singular in that a lot of the time you spend with Michael Keaton, whereas there's the duality here of Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore. It felt similar tonally at some points, which I thought was a strange comparison that was happening in my head at certain points. But yeah, I mean, casting wise, they don't put a toe wrong, I don't think.
Yeah. All right. Let me get into some of my things that make this movie completely fall apart.
Love it.
How about that?
Hit me.
So, Sue is an autonomous person. Like, she's a completely different person. What is Elizabeth getting out of the substance?
Yeah, that was my first question that only really occurred to me towards the point of the movie when they sort of start fucking each other over. The only rationalization that I could reach is that the substance maybe quote unquote works if you're not completely self-loathing to the point where you're completely divorced from a younger, more attractive version of yourself, and a younger, again, when I say more attractive, I'm talking in the framework of the movie. You know, if you see a younger, more attractive version of yourself, like maybe you see an old photo of yourself, if you hate that person in that picture, the substance maybe isn't going to work for you. Whereas if you have a more tender approach to the younger person, younger version of yourself, maybe if you're more forgiving of your, your inner child or your younger self, then maybe the substance connects you a little bit more, and you're able to live a bit more vicariously through that pod person twin that emerges from your spine. But I'm wholly speculative, because the central tension of the movie is that the two characters are pulling in completely different directions and are violently opposed to each other. So I didn't really understand that either.
It's sort of like the message is remember you are one, but they're not. They're never one.
No. Yeah, and that's the point in the movie where the voice on the phone, the person peddling the substance, becomes quite insidious to me and starts to take on this arch personality of maybe someone who's just preying on people who are in the midst of a complete vanity crash of some kind, or at a stage of aging that they just can't handle for whatever reason. And it makes them fucking evil. That's somebody who's maybe even watching, Creepy, very creepy.
When Sue / Elizabeth become Monstro Elizasu, how do they get into the auditorium?
Don't we follow them all the way?
Well, yeah, but who they let them in?
Yeah, but there's a clever moment.
No one notices that she's literally a monster with a picture of Elizabeth Sparkle stapled to her head.
Well, first of all, I think we suspend our disbelief a little bit because of exactly what you just described. But there's some suggestive camera work that does a lot for me to explain that. So when the first bouncer guy opens the door, she's crooked and leaning in such a way that kind of conceals the arm sticking out of her back, the back face, the exposed the exposed everything, and she's sort of crooked and looking upward in an almost suggestive way. And I think there's a lot of lighting happening that sort of implies he kind of glances at her, sees the dress, sees the face, and just whatever, fucking get in. It's kind of a dismissive, surface level. I don't know. You're holding up your hand. What's about to happen?
All right, but she doesn't work there anymore.
True. Yeah, true.
So even if he thought it was Elizabeth Sparkle, she doesn't work there anymore. She's not allowed to be there.
Yeah, I thought the whole choice of having Elizabeth Sparkle's face on her face to begin with was slightly odd, because I thought she'd want to... I don't know who's in control of that monster, to be honest.
Well, it's Margaret Qualley is under the makeup.
Yeah, but
Apart
it's...
from the face on her back, obviously, which is Demi Moore's face. But,
yeah, it ultimately ends up being Demi Moore, doesn't it? Well, I mean, we're sort of led to believe, because that face slithers away. So that they're obviously...
Well, she's got her face on her back.
Yeah.
So like the head is the body of it is Margaret Qualley.
Yeah.
And there are elements of Elizabeth. Yeah, she doesn't even work there, so she wouldn't be allowed to be there. And I guess they only use her face because that's the head-sized
Picture
that they have in the apartment.
Yeah. I think if we can get her past that one doorman, then it's fair game, because nobody else really sees her until she's on stage.
Yeah.
So I did buy that because of how it was shot, but I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, she doesn't work there, so why let her in? I guess.
Yeah.
We just let that one slide.
Do you think the satire? I mean, it's maybe the most heavy-handed and blunt satire that has ever existed, and I'm okay with that. I don't think that's an issue. Do you think that the satire of the film, or like the ultimate message about the way that we treat women's bodies and the way that we sort of society and Hollywood more specifically, but society quite generally sort of polices women's bodies and aging and their agency as a result of that? Do you think that's undercut by how horny the camera is for Margaret Qualley as Sue?
No, I thought about that as well, and no, great phrasing of that question. I would have butchered that. I think no, because it has to be, because that camera is supposed to be our basest desires, right? That camera is supposed to be the lens through which we, the enemy, the viewer, has perpetuated this cycle of crime, essentially. And I think what's really interesting about the satire is I think it's fucking perfect, because it's timed and pitched just right. You know, everybody knows that this is a thing. Every person with cogent thoughts in their head living now knows about this. So the satire, I think, would be tired if it was subtle, because it's been subtle. That's been done a million times, and for all intents and purposes, hasn't fucking worked. Satire is supposed to bring about social change, isn't it? It's supposed to be the entertainment medium through which we criticize and we shine a light on the dark corners. So for it to be so graphic, so expressive, and so difficult and uncomfortable, I think is pitch perfect for what it's trying to do. So I actually loved it. I loved that it went so far and so hard. And I read a couple of things online that said because it was so graphic, it actually undermined its own cause and its own satire. And I think that's an asinine take. I think that's, you're not getting the vehicle in which you're viewing this tale, which is a film. Get a grip. You're watching a film. That's how it's going to be if it's going to work.
Yeah, nobody's like Idiocracy is so on the nose that it's like the satire doesn't work anymore. Like that's
Idiocracy, like this, I guarantee, just gets more and more potent as time passes and as culture evolves the way it's evolving. Both of those, they're going to walk happily into the sunset together at some point as the nukes detonate.
Well, I think Idiocracy doesn't quite hold up because it's got a real early 2000s sensibility about it.
Yeah, it's really gross to look at, but eventually this will be too.
I can't imagine this film ever being gross to look at. I mean, it's gross.
I thought that about Idiocracy. No, I didn't.
It is gross, literally gross to look at, but it's beautiful. God, like it's
such a cleanly shot movie, isn't it? It's all I could think the whole way through it is it's just perfect.
Just like watching super big air quotes like ugly Demi Moore writhing around on the bathroom floor with all those really clean lines.
The bathroom is such a powerful place in this movie, isn't it? And it is just a benign white bathroom with black grout for what it's worth. That's really all that's there. But there's so much done with the angles and so much done with different types of lenses and lighting. It becomes 10 rooms. It's really incredible.
Yeah. Speaking of becoming 10 rooms, we're supposed to believe that Margaret Qualley just builds another room in the apartment.
I knew you were gonna start talking about women and DIY, Jamie. I knew you couldn't keep up the veneer of wokeness for a full 20 minutes or however long it's been.
It's been 40, and I can't do DIY. But I don't believe that. I mean, I can barely put together an IKEA bookcase.
So how's a bird going to build a whole room? I hear you, Jamie.
She's just been born.
Yeah,
a baby couldn't do it.
It's such an impressive hidden door.
Yeah.
It's really well done. I also found it slightly surprising just how incredibly physically strong she is. She's just picking up Demi Moore and chucking her around like a rag doll. They're dragging each other around all over the place. And I realized, this is really important to the film, that both of these characters are able, despite, whatever aspects of reality you're going to apply here to say that they shouldn't be able to do this. It's really important that they're really physically strong. They're just lobbing each other all over the place. It goes into cartoonish violence at the end. That's what it's leading to. But we get hints of that throughout. They're both really strong and really fast, and I found that really fun. I thought it was quite. Looking back, it was foreshadowing for the final fight. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, like I don't have any issue with the fact that Demi Moore's character at one point can barely sit in a chair, but then is able to run away from Sue at the end. But I have no issue with that.
That's the violence that we buy into. She gets booted across an entire room.
Yeah.
and somehow survives like enormous physical punishment. But again, very fun. And the fact that she's able to survive like 99% of the drug that's supposed to kill her was another thing where I was like, fucking hell, you really got to put the entire amount of that syringe into her to end her. That's very precise, very strange.
Yeah. I mean, those are my main sort of things that I think break the movie. Her building the bathroom room, less so. But the idea that they are entirely autonomous of each other, despite it just I think means that what's the value? You're lying in a room while someone else is doing something. That's my life already.
Maybe there's a this is going out on a limb a bit. Maybe there's truly a depth of vanity and self-loathing and borderline sociopathy that you and I find hard to access as a viewer. Maybe just knowing that there's a version of you out in the world living the life that you wish you had that came from you is enough to satiate that and to cause you to kind of perpetuate this cycle. Is that maybe a comment on motherhood? Is there something happening there that's
almost definitely? There is a motherhood element to this, isn't there? But I don't know, maybe don't treat your kids like that.
Yeah, obviously. But this is
and also don't treat your mum like that.
Yeah, there's something about the fact that one emerges from the other. There's an obvious kind of cocoon, chrysalis moment happening there. But I did start thinking throughout the film, because of the nature of complex mother-daughter relationships, particularly in abusive mother-daughter relationships, I feel like there's something being said here that I haven't experienced and maybe I'm not best qualified to talk about. But it was never more abundantly obvious to me that was happening than in those specific moments of the sort of longing that you see in Elizabeth when she can't quite end it. She can't quite stop the cycle, because there is, on some level, some kind of fulfillment in seeing that younger version of yourself succeed within the very narrow vein framework that you've created for what success is. Yeah, there's a horrible, horrible dynamic between those two characters who, like you said, are basically autonomous. But there is a very palpable and important connection between a mother and a daughter, a father and a son, a parent of any kind and a child of any kind. Is that something that is kind of transcended here in some way? If so, even more evil on the part of Mr. Substance, who's created this fucking mess.
Billy Substance, that was his name, wasn't it?
Yeah, good old Willy Substance.
Oh no.
What do you think of the whole medical procedure the whole process throughout the movie, I was quite fascinated by the feeding tubes, the bags, the syringes, the injections, the ins, the outs, all of the various penetrations, all the various invasions.
So well, another sort of movie breaking thing for me is that we also are supposed to believe that Sue can just sew up a person.
That was fucking vile. I'm normally fine with a bit of stitching. If anything, I kind of enjoy watching that kind of stuff, especially, in a war movie or, a T2 type scenario. But oh my, just the thickness of that gammony flesh and that curved needle, it's too realistic, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
The way it pops through the skin on the other side. Oy, rough. But I think she does just sort of tie a bunch of knots up her back and it heals. And again, I think we're supposed to believe that's partly the substance doing some of that work. But core, what a horrible little scene.
Yeah, I love all of the issue with the substance within the movie is that they just let people take it. Like, you should be in a facility where they monitor you and they sew you up and they keep you hooked up to a machine. Like in reality, let's say in England or in the EU, there would be like a fairly like strict controls on how you would be able to access the substance.
You really have gone so PC here, David. You're advocating for EU health and safety law around use of the substance. You're an absolute banana straightener, aren't you?
I want my croissants to be a very specific curve, yeah.
No, obviously, like, there's two parts of me in this debate. One is like, of course, Jamie, this should be rigorously supervised by medical professionals. And the other part of me is like, but it's so upsetting the way that it's handled in the movie. The fact that you have to go down this sketchy little stairway and into this like horrible graffitied alleyway to get your stuff and then scurry back to your house where you hide your dirty secret. It does put an enormous amount of trust and accountability on the user, which again is just terrifying concept. And she's just able to like find these veins, strap in all, do all this medical stuff. And I find it, I think it's a great device in the movie that they're just left to do all that on their own. Again, there's just something being said there about self-medicating, self-care, the brutality of self-medicating with various different kinds of beauty, pharmaceutical. Just a really chilling peek under the hood of that whole process. I kind of hated it from start to finish.
Yeah, no, I think it's tactile. Like you feel everything. The Foley in this movie is maybe the third co-star because like it's so. This movie would completely fall apart without the Foley.
Yeah, there's so much ear work happening. There's so much muffled touching and there's huge chunks of this movie, really significant chunks where you're not actually hearing the Foley, you're feeling it. It's the sensation that you get in the center of your head when someone rubs against your shoulder. It's that underwater feeling. It's that sort of muffled, crushed, pushed to the back of the scene feeling that is so powerful and so evocative of so many feelings. You're right, it absolutely takes on a personality of its own. And you sit braced for it the whole way through the movie. You sort of want it because it's got an ASMR kind of pleasure to it. But you're braced for impact every single time, and then a fucking ear falls off. Oh my god!
Yeah, like when it feels violent in the sort of day-to-day scenes. So then when you get to the violence of that big fight at the end, every single one of those blows like lands on me.
Oh, the
like
kicks.
I feel it so much.
And it does just reduce Elizabeth to a bag of meat, which is what this industry has done to her from the very beginning. And then she's kicked to death on the floor of her apartment by her younger self, whomst she brought into existence. Get to fuck. It's not just a fight scene, is it? It's significantly more meaningful than that. And it's so hard-earned. Again, I saw it dismissed as a gratuitous, lowbrow fight scene at the end. And I thought, you, once again, have missed the point. There's so much happening in that fight. And it's obviously beautifully shot as well. And yeah, just a punishing what you think is going to be a climax. I thought that was quite near the end of the film. Nope, we're just getting started, buddy boy. Let's go to the party. Whew. I found it so. I really enjoyed the green puke while we're talking about medical stuff. It was so pissy but so luminous. I know that you are a man who ingests vitamins, and from time to time, I imagine you've taken too much vitamin C and then micturated eyes down, and it's not far off what that looks like, is it?
Definitely not. I pissed quite a lot of Herbert West's Reanimator serum, and that was that was reminiscent.
And she's puking it. It's vile. I love it. It's really good. There's so much. I mean, I'm going to overuse the word uncomfortable in this conversation, but everything that's social that happens is painful as well. When she stands the guy up on the date, there's a part of me that hates missing engagements that's sitting there going, oh, you're going to be so late. And I know that I'm being preyed on in that moment because, you know, I'm being assaulted from every angle by the makeup situation, the hair situation, the clothes situation. All of it is so anxiety inducing, it's hard to bear. But she's also missing a very important engagement. And it's,
so you're going to come at me about wanting tighter controls around the substance imposed by the European Union, of which we are not a member, and you're going to sit there and be like, oh, it was all quite uncomfortable, but she also missed out on that very important social engagement.
Yes, she was going to be late, and then she just didn't go. That's appalling. I'm afraid that's unforgivable.
That's my life, mate.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah, but I know that there's a kind of very calculated spray of bullets coming out of this movie because it's trying to hit everyone. It's not haphazard. It's really quite clever. And I know that my clock watching behavior is being is being dragged into that scene, and it's really, really painful. And then obviously all the makeup scene was really hard to watch as someone who doesn't traditionally wear makeup. It just really drags it to the fore how fucking hard that whole process is. You know, what she goes through in that scene is what many people go through on a really regular basis. And my God, it's torturous to watch. It's so torturous. It makes me remember having hair. That's how powerful that scene was.
Speaking of clock watching, so this movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is quite long.
Yeah.
Quite a long movie for Sam Russo to say that he likes it.
Definitely.
But were you fine with that?
I was, because it only got to the point where traditionally I'd think a movie, at the point that it got to where I would normally be thinking this is quite a long film, things were really starting to move. And the ground had been laid so adroitly up until that point that I just had nothing to lose, especially time. You know, I knew that things were going to escalate and get out of hand. And again, I know for some people this whole end sequence, possibly even the last half an hour of this movie, is a bit gratuitous and a bit drawn out. But I think it's wholly necessary to go that hard.
Absolutely.
And it's the most entertaining section of the movie, the part of the movie where you can really let go with abandon and sort of lose the subtext a little bit and lose the messaging and just enjoy gore and body horror and monsters and really a kind of slow brewing climax to everything that you've sat through previously. And that's a rewarding movie watching experience. That's not a film that's too long. That's really well paced and really well developed. So, you know, at no point in this film did I think, fucking hell, this is dragging on a bit. It wasn't like that at all for me. What about you? Do you think in the cinema it must have felt even longer, right?
Well, no, I don't think so. The way that I feel about this film is it feels like an escalator, and when you get to the top, there's no second story, so you just plummet to your death. And like
a roller coaster that never actually goes down, it just falls off the end.
Yeah, it's like the roller coaster that I would make in Roller Coaster Tycoon. Like,
tipping your psycho hand a little bit there, Jay.
But like, yeah, it's it builds up in such a way that you're like, yeah, we're moving towards something that's gonna resolve this in a really satisfying way. And then when it gets there, it sort of doesn't resolve it in a really satisfying way. It just sort of jumps out of the screen and punches you in the face until you go away.
Yeah,
and that's I'm so here for that.
Yeah, and you know what's funny as well is you're sort of, I don't know if you're led to believe this or if it was just my sort of conditioning as a pretty traditional hero's journey type Hollywood viewer, but I thought someone was going to get theirs at the end. I thought she's not going through this horrible, fucking devastating process to just walk out on stage to try and feel seen and beautiful. There's no way. She's going to go there and fucking murder everyone. She's going to grow a huge mouth and eat people. People are going to get shredded. Everyone in that ballroom's going to die or whatever. And that's, once again, my expectations are undercut completely. It is just an even deeper dive into the agony of vanity and the ultimate, dead end, downward spiral, crushing destruction of the soul that results in that kind of self-obsession and complete preoccupation with image over substance. Nobody gets theirs. Everyone kind of gets freaked out and runs away, but they're going to continue to live their lives exactly as they always have. No one's learned anything there. They hate the monster. They try and kill the monster. They ultimately do destroy the monster. And the only person that suffers, well, people, I guess, are Elizabeth and Sue.
Yeah.
Not the ending I was expecting. No traditional morality arc there, really. It takes a deeper spooning to really understand what's being said.
Yeah, it's like the vibe is that like there's not really any way to fix this. It's just that this is it now, right? This is just the way the world is.
Yeah, satire, in other words, like superb satire, and it painted in blood. I just don't think it gets. I don't think it gets more effective when it comes to this like particular method of storytelling.
I really love how bad all of the dialogue is. It's almost like a test to see how ridiculous you can make people sound and still keep people engaged in the movie.
Well, where do you place this in terms of time? Is an interesting question. Like, where are we?
That's a great question. I think it's meant to be. It doesn't make sense that it would be now, but it also doesn't feel like it's set in the past. It's sort of set in a different dimension where.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like it felt to me, and again, this might be a hugely pretentious read, but it felt to me like it's supposed to be in the dimension of a romanticized 90s. Like it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be the 90s romanticized. It's supposed to be a scathing kind of representation of how we romanticize a lot of that fashion, entertainment, culture, and how we let a lot of behavior from that era kind of slide on by because it was of its time. It felt like we were being taken somewhere against our will rather than being placed somewhere really nostalgic. There's no point where you're like, oh, look, there's no phones. How cool. There's just a total absence of phones. And that's not...
It's really interesting. I've not even considered that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm quite interested in place and time, and I feel like it's crucial to understanding a movie like this that we know when it's happening, and we're not told, which again puts us in a place of, unease. So I kind of enjoyed imagining that's where and when it was being set, but I wondered, as usual, if I just missed, a caption that said LA 92 or something.
No, I think you're right. I think it does feel... It probably takes a bunch of stuff from the 80s, a bunch of stuff from the 90s, a bunch of stuff from the 2000s and even beyond.
Yeah.
And like just sort of mixes it all up into a big sort of gumbo of like stuff and age. And like it has to be timeless because this stuff's been happening forever. And so you want it to feel like it could be the 80s. I mean, the big New Year's show, the fact that she has an aerobics show that's on TV, those aren't contemporary things. No,
but in this world, it feels totally fine that they exist, even though it doesn't really feel like the era in which they would. The male characters, the young male characters that we see in this movie, date it as today almost. Those young men feel obnoxiously now. Dennis Quaid feels like more of a throwback, but he's far more cartoonishly drawn. He's almost like Tommy Lee Jones in Natural Born Killers in that respect. He's so over the top. He sort of transcends place and time. Doesn't really matter where and when he is. But there are aspects of vehicles and particularly the young people that made me think, oh, fuck me, maybe it's supposed to be now. But again, I think that's just they're cardboard cutout shitty men for the most part.
I think that men in Hollywood now wouldn't let people hear them say, "I wish she had tits on her face in place of the nose."
No,
I'm not
No.
saying that they wouldn't say it, but I'm saying they wouldn't let someone hear them say it.
Those casting agents felt slightly anomalous in the setting. I don't have any experience of real life casting agents. I only really know what they're like from movies. But I thought it was interesting that those guys didn't have any charisma whatsoever. There was nothing particularly animated about them. They're obviously supposed to be a bit neckbeardy, incel-y kind of characters, but they weren't particularly ostentatious, which I was expecting. I was expecting an element of like over-the-top, dismissive, misanthropic, judgmental, snarky fucker from a casting agent, or a kind of lovey-dovey, over-the-top, encouraging, artsy kind of presentation. And again, maybe that's another misrepresentation of a group of people that the movie's criticizing, because these guys are fucking bland as balls and feel like they have the, carte blanche to just say whatever they want about anybody that's kind of wheeled out in front of them on this endless carousel of dismissible talent.
Like I say, I think that the dialogue is just so otherworldly. It's things that people would never say, delivered in a way that someone would never talk in a room that looks like a room would never look. And like, I love that. I think it's so. I've seen some criticism online about it, but it's completely on purpose.
Right.
Like,
but I'm interested in your take, because I didn't pay an enormous amount of attention to the dialogue, I don't think, now. I was so overwhelmed by the visuals. With your 5 watches, what kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, even stuff that's like the big lines in the movie, like when Dennis Quaid is like, "Pretty girls should always smile."
Sure.
It's like, that's just a weird way of saying that. It's not a, "You should smile if you want to look pretty," or, "Hey, give us a smile, it's prettier," or whatever. Like, "Pretty girls should always smile." It's just a weird, clunky, upside down way of saying that. It's designed to do that, to be like jarring when someone says that. And like when the audience at the New Year's show are like, "It's a monster."
Yeah.
It's just like, no one would ever stand up and shout, "It's a monster."
I love that, yeah.
Like, I feel like it's like a movie adaptation of a movie adaptation of a movie adaptation of a movie adaptation of something that really happened. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, like a fax of a copy of a
Yeah.
Something essential is being lost in the replication process, which is, again, that's a factor in DNA, right? In the reproductive process. In every copy of a copy situation, there's degradation, right? I thought in moments like that, we were just being told these people are fucking dumb as dumbbells, like the dumbest of the dumb.
But like, even Elizabeth, who is like arguably the only real character in the movie, like, even she has like bad lines.
Some of her cooking dialogue was interesting when she's talking to herself, making all this French food. Yeah. Again, some of that was, so surreal, it felt vaguely Lynchian. Him buying her this French cookbook and saying how much he loves his wife, and then her just sort of obsessively cooking all this. I mean, I guess it's a vehicle to more of that horribly tactile, close-up, gooey, horrible sound and feeling work that makes the movie tick. But it does seem like a very specific, very niche thing for her to do, to prepare all this French food, to eat some of it and then let it rot in the apartment.
Let's talk about some of the gore then. Like,
come on,
get into the gore. Obviously, we talked about the shrimp scene. That feels really gory to me. It's not, but it is.
Yeah, it's body horror. It's a unique kind of body horror. But for me, sure, shrimp, all you can eat. But that's not the worst part of body horror in this movie, and nor is all the graphic gore. It's Dennis Quaid smoking.
Oh, really?
God, that was awful. There's so much. Like, I like the smell and taste of shrimp. I haven't eaten shrimp in about 15 years, but I vividly remember how delicious it smells and tastes. The way that his smoking is portrayed is enough to make you not want to smoke. Like,
I mean,
his breath when he's right up in her face talking to her, the way that he smokes, the sound, the like intensity of the rushing sound as it goes into his body. It's depicted as being horribly unhealthy, but without really saying how or why. There's just a sort of really disgusting quality to it that is so off-putting and so vile.
Well, I've got 50 posters from doctors that say smoking's really good for you. So
Yeah, and I'm not an anti-smoking crusader in any way, and I don't think it's gross when people smoke near me at all. But that changed my mind. It was a horrible. It felt like I was ODing on ketamine and being pushed into Dennis Quaid's face while he smoked. It was awful, terrible experience. But yeah, gore me up, Daddy. What you got?
well, let's go. Let's dig into the Monster LEC of it all. I obviously love how practical that is.
Agreed.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that they just did it practically and they made it real with all of the flaws that come with it. Like, it doesn't look real. It doesn't look, I wouldn't say even particularly good. But like the fact that it's there and it exists in the space is much, it means that when someone shouts, there's a monster, kill the monster, that's the thing that is like unrealistic, not
Yeah.
the tit coming out of her eye.
Yeah.
Like,
It's really bold to put that monster under that bathroom light, the same way you have the women throughout the whole movie. Because yeah, you're right. Like, you could make a really convincing / scary Carpenter-esque monster with lighting and smoke and different colors and angles and everything else, but they don't. They're just like, this is our fucking monster in a plain white room. Look at it top to bottom from all these angles. And they do that in the shower scenes. They do it with the finger and the leg, and they're totally unafraid to show exactly the monster that they want you to see, regardless. Like you said, if it looks a little bit latexy, or there's a little bit of give here and there where there wouldn't be give in a human body, they just don't give a fuck. And that is exactly what we're here for at the Final Transmission podcast, if I may. It just looks phenomenal. You feast your eyes on it. It's so magnetic.
yeah, the sort of the concept and design of it is so cool.
Yeah,
And like,
I'd love to see the concept sketches and the process they went through to get to the final thing.
Yeah, and like it develops in inches from like what we see from what happens to Elizabeth throughout the movie. So it makes sense that it would look like that as well. I mean, it doesn't make sense that it would look like that anything would look like that. But like it, in the context of like what's happening in the movie, it completely makes sense.
Yeah,
And like you say, like you know that it's not going to end well. Maybe along the way there'll be some fucked up shit that happens and some comeuppances that happen. But like, I was not expecting on my first watch Monster LSU.
no, and I wasn't expecting the sort of stylized direction of having a title card with that written on it either, which I really enjoyed. It took me to a Godzilla-esque experience that I thought was fantastic. I think there's a light undertow in this movie that's sort of touching on the idea of woman as witch, and that really hits home when we see Elizabeth's witch finger. And then her curled, gnarled old lady toes. It's more than a comment on how, old people are gross. When we get old, we're really gross. It feels more witchy to me. And there's aspects of Demi Moore's portrayal that, there's moments where you catch a witchy glimmer that I really enjoy. And there's a sort of alternative read of this movie that there's potions involved and there's all kinds of witchy happenings going on. And I feel like it might be deliberate to use the witch's finger there as the first corruption. There's an idea in a lot of magical lore that the more you cast, the more you corrupt. So the more you are engaging in sorcery, and the more you're drawing on that power, the more you yourself are corrupted, because it's essentially an unnatural act. So I really enjoyed that thematically and visually. The finger was one of the grossest things for me. It was one of the things that made me so uncomfortable, because it's really hard to hide that one digit, that one point of corruption. More so, it's ridiculous to even think about trying to hide your entire monster body, which she still does, and successfully. Again, another brilliant subversion. But the idea of hiding that finger is just such a fucking sad and painful watch. And I think it's hinting at something, arcane almost.
You've never had a sad and painful game of hide the finger?
I'm having one right now. Join the Patreon, you'll see. I mean, we've all sort of had that like impulse to hide a blemish or to hide an maybe like physical evidence of impropriety or bad behavior, and there's a shame to it that's just it just drenches you when that happens on screen. And I think for a lot of people it's viscerally relatable, and that's what makes it so fucking painful. And it's quite drawn out, that whole finger fiasco, isn't it? It goes for quite a while. It's a real drawn out fingering, which normally I'm here for, but fucking ouchie.
A thing that I don't understand, in fact, it's not I don't understand it, a thing that I don't like is the car crash. I think my issue with the car crash, which I think is there to represent like this huge collapse, it's like a physical manifestation of like of what Elizabeth is feeling, and that's fine. I respect that. What I don't like about it is it gives people a point in the movie to be like, she's in a coma and everything after that is all a dream.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Like, I don't think that that's the intention.
No.
But I think that like there being a point where you can leave reality if you choose to.
Yeah.
Then I think that, it massively undercuts the point and the message and the satire and everything. And I think that that's maybe something that was handled a bit clunkily to allow people. Like, she's in that huge crash and she goes to hospital and they're like, there is literally nothing wrong with you. Not one scratch. It's just like, okay. Like,
well, yeah.
Again, that's meant to be like, look, you're totally fine as you are. Like, you've had this horrible thing happen to you, and you're basically still completely perfect because you're Demi Moore. But like,
I mean, I thought was happening there is, you're right. Any kind of like concussive loss of consciousness moment in a movie gives people the chance to be like, oh, it's all a dream. But I think what I enjoyed about that is she's distracted by looking at the billboard of them tearing her face off the billboard, and she's punished for that by being smashed by this car. So you think, fucking hell, that's it. She's getting her comeuppance for all this vanity. She's going to come out disfigured. That's where this movie's going to go, and then she's going to seek a solution or whatever. And it's going to be corrective plastic surgery, and that's all going to go tits up, literally, or tits down. And that doesn't happen, and I found it to be quite comedic that the doctor said, there's not even a scratch on you, you're absolutely fine, because it's another undercutting of the expectation that she's going to be mangled. And then we're in this situation where she's confronted with this young, impish pusher, who, by the way, I was so freaked out by his older self in the diner. That scene was probably the only like scary moment in the movie to me. The rest of it's really very much body horror, which isn't so much scary as it's just squeamish stuff. But that was a scary scene, I thought. I really found that to be the one moment of true horror really in the movie.
Yeah, I wonder if like the body horror hits differently if you're a woman, because there's so much like birthing and sewing up and like all of the stuff that can happen as a result of giving birth and all that.
Well, let's speak for all women and just put it to bed now. We'll just say how they all feel.
Yeah.
No, I can't even fucking begin to speculate what watching this movie is like for anyone other than me, basically. Yeah, and I'm not gonna.
Like I say, the fight scene is one of the most violent feeling fight scenes I've ever experienced in a movie. Yeah. And I tell a lie, actually. Alongside the old man, the man at diner, Christian Eriksen's character being scary, I think Margaret Qualley running and screaming through the apartment just with like bloodlust is also up there as being a genuinely scary moment. That's such a great performance moment from her. Yeah. Like, Margaret Qualley is not an actor that I've spent loads of time with outside of The Substance. And it's such an incredible performance of like not really a character.
Yeah.
That like it's so insane.
What a weird role. It's pitch perfect. Like it's part Barbie doll, part psychopath, part incredibly deep vehicle almost for the whole moral of the story. She's got an enormous amount of weight on her shoulders and just beat perfect acting. It must be such a strange character to embody. You know, what kind of direction went into that? What kind of, process and prep and conversations between Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley must have been fascinating throughout that, throughout the making of the movie. And I think, the simplicity of the surface simplicity of the role belies the complexity of the character. I think is really, really fascinating portrayal of a fucking weird role.
Yeah. I just think it's really good. And like I say, I think if you try and scrutinize it, it falls apart, but that's completely fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go as far as to say that maybe not a lot of body horror, but a lot of movies that end up in the realm of the grotesque, in a kind of classic, like, Boschian way, have huge flaws and maybe don't make any fucking sense because we're in the realm of the monster,
My mind went immediately to Society, and there are
Right.
no flaws in that movie apart from all of the acting.
Yeah, well, you can't say that about this, can you? Because all the acting is pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
like,
know.
there's nothing ridiculous about. I mean, there's plenty of stuff ridiculous about what happens at the end of Society, but like, it doesn't. There's nothing that happens in that movie ever doesn't feel earned. Whereas in this, if you think about it for more than 2 seconds, it's like, okay, but why would you keep taking the substance? Like, why would
Right.
you? You're absolutely not getting anything out of this besides the fact that something that you made is out there experiencing something, which I think is a read and is fair, but like it makes no sense to me.
Is there something we're missing here? Is there a process? Is the substance leading to something different? Like after a period of switching back and forth, does something else happen? Is that hinted
I mean,
at?
I don't think it's hinted at, but that's possible. Maybe if that was hinted at, that would be like maybe you need 3 weeks each way in order to become one or something. That would if that was a thing that they'd worked in, then that would be good, because like you would just be like, look, I don't have the patience for this. I'm young and I'm sexy. And I'm gonna go and bone this dude in a motorbike. Like
Yeah.
that's completely fair. I completely would buy that. It could fall apart after one trip.
Yeah. I'm also far too much of a pushover to not just permit that. I'd be like, I get it. Like, just let me become a monster. You go live your life, Sam.
But like she has to not be a monster. She has to not be Sue for a bit. Otherwise, she can't be Sue ever. That's the ultimate crushing thing here, is that if you destroy Elizabeth,
Yeah.
then you destroy yourself. And obviously that happens in the movie, and then that's how we get Monsterella Sue. But like, even if you make Elizabeth into this massive monster, you still have to let her exist for a bit in order to carry on being.
Yeah.
And like, who knows what would even start happening to Sue if it carried on, if she didn't kill Elizabeth, for example, in that horrible scene that goes on forever and is so incredibly violent, and it literally, like I say, it feels like I'm being beaten up.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're missing a subtle hint at longevity here for the process, because I'm sure he says at the start, like, you have to sacrifice a week and then you do this process for X amount of time, but we never get to the like, and then, like, maybe there's a unification process, like you said. I'd like to speculate that there's something in the wider world of this movie that we don't actually see, where the substance has some kind of maybe meld and you just become a more vital younger version of yourself or something, but you have to get through this trial first, potentially.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Do you have anything else you want to say before we go to break?
I think there's lots of different people in the world from lots of different backgrounds who would have...
So true.
It's so true, and I'm so glad we were here to say it. Put that on record. That would have such a different take and read on this movie. Like, even scientifically, I'd be really interested to see and hear what somebody who is, maybe like has a biology background, like a biochem kind of background, would think about this movie, the concept, the whole idea, what it says about the future. People who work in, speculative existential risk, for example, thinking about the future, what they would have to say about where this process of, this sort of fountain of youth mentality is going, and what it means for cosmetics and for the health industry, for pharmaceuticals. AI, it's
Yeah.
it's not out of the question that AI is going to have a profound impact on beauty, lifespan, all of these things. And I think this movie boots open the doors of conversation in that regard, and that's why I think it's such a great late night cinema movie, like you said, because I can imagine just tripping over myself to get out of this movie and go for a late night coffee and talk about it with people who have different perspectives on it. So if you're out there and you haven't seen this movie, I assume you have, but yeah, fucking get your gums around this one. Crikey.
Yeah, I think like historically the way that sort of beauty standards were talked about in the future, the nebulous future, is like, or at least in a lot of sort of speculative science fiction, which this isn't, but kind of I guess is.
Yeah.
Was like this sort of jacking into the internet and putting a headset on and being someone beautiful in the web.
Yeah.
And being sort of gross, like The Matrix or Ready Player One or like that sort of thing.
Mm.
And that's obviously got a fairly rich history in the sort of cyberpunk William Gibson stuff. And like the reality, I think, is we won't end up there. We're much more likely to end up somewhere like this. Obviously, we know that there are drugs on the market at the moment that do sort of stuff like this. Not this, but like
Yeah.
there's Ozempic or whatever. And
You're
like,
talking about the magic medicinal combination of Ozempic and lip filler, aren't you?
yeah, and like buccal fat removal and all these things. People getting their cheeks done and their buccal fat removed. Like I was looking at myself in the mirror earlier. I was like moving my bedroom around, and like the light was different in where my mirror is, and I was like, it looks like I've had my buccal fat removed. I hope no one thinks that.
I hope no one thinks that. I feel self-conscious when I engage in like even the most minor of self-maintenance, like if I trim my nose hair, I'm like, oh, all right, fucking calm down. Who are you trying to impress?
Literally.
Yeah, it's. I'd like to see the substance, but made for men.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, for the record. Good Lord, fate worse than death.
But like I feel like I don't know what that could even be, because like we could all understand through this story, but I don't think that like a men's experience can be universal in the same way that we can all understand. We can all put ourselves in Elizabeth Sparkle, terrible name. We can all put ourselves in her position.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be as easy to put myself in Ryan Reynolds' position when he's like the better version of James Spader or whatever. Like,
oh my God, what casting, Jamie?
like I just don't think like you wouldn't be able to. Think about like Rob McElhenney, right?
Yeah.
He was a good-looking guy, put on a load of weight for the show or whatever because it was funny, and then just got incredibly ripped. Like, as a person that like lost quite a lot of weight and is like in much better shape than I used to be, like I still cannot relate to that.
That level of transformation.
Yeah, as a person that basically went through the exact thing, I cannot relate. So,
even though it's like a provably physically achievable thing to do. Like it's within most of our capacity to become ripped if we really, really work.
But I still cannot relate to that as a thing.
Sure.
So like it would be impossible to have the substance for men, I think.
Thankfully. And I think this movie's so wholly unique. Fucking hell, imagine if we put this out and they announce a sequel and it's and it's this. Fucking hell, that'd ruin it.
It's Ryan Reynolds and James Spader.
Yeah. But I do love how unique
it.
and standalone and statuesque in its statement this movie is. It doesn't...
Yeah.
I've referenced other movies in this, and that's just me drowning and trying to grab driftwood to find a reference point. It doesn't feel like anything else, and I think that's fucking cool as balls.
Well, I think that Coralie Fagia does a bunch of stuff in order to anchor it to things that you can understand. Like there's a bunch of Kubrick stuff.
Yeah.
There's obviously it's channeling some elements of John Carpenter's The Thing and a bunch of Cronenberg stuff. There's a bunch of The Fly in there. And like even like Sam Raimi, there are these sort of moments of like, okay, I live in the world and have seen films, so I know that you need some sort of anchor to grab onto in order to not fly out of the window and get kicked in the head by a horse. So like,
Yeah, this can't be like filmed in like dizzying, kaleidoscopic, cut and paste, non-linear. You know, it can't be that much of an art house film that it becomes unpalatable, because then it doesn't reach its audience. And I think she's made this film so deliberately, shot by shot, inch by inch, decision by decision. There's a reason the substance isn't just a pill that you take, and there's a reason there's not, you know, voices in these characters' heads giving us all this like expository information about what's going on for them. There's a reason that it's as meticulously constructed as it is, and I think it's a vision fully realized. And for that, you know, much respect. What a fucking feat.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I would add maybe is that you experience being inside Sue as Elizabeth, sort of like when you're John Malkovich in Being John Malkovich.
Yeah, I always found that movie quite uncomfortable as well.
Yeah, I think that like that would be the thing that connects the two characters.
Right.
So then you're able to understand why it's a decision to not, or to carry on doing it when obviously, as we see, you're not getting anything out of it. It's just like
Elizabeth becomes like a sort of passive,
like
her soul
basically.
is kind of existing, because that's what was being hinted at with the multiple irises. I thought that's what was kind of happening there. Like we're never actually told that Elizabeth is able to experience the world through Sue, or even perceive anything that's happening. Hence her shock when she wakes up and sees how fucked everything is. But I thought that the eyes were kind of hinting at that. So maybe there's a deeper cellular level experience being hinted at, that she doesn't feel the need to telegraph through any kind of sensory experience in the movie. I don't know, but I love thinking about it, and that means it's done its job.
I just think because we spend so much time in character perspectives.
True.
And like that's all obviously on purpose, because Coralie Faggio wants you to empathize with these characters, and that's why you have to sit and fucking watch Dennis Quaid eat shrimp for 4 hours. Like
4 hours. Yeah.
Like
that's why you are the monster
so
at the
quick.
end as well. You know.
Yeah.
That's a deliberate choice to put us behind that mask and perceive everything.
We're the monster, we're the audience. Like we're everybody in this movie.
Yeah. That's what makes
we're Dennis
it.
Quaid with a bathroom wall. We're like we're everything. Yeah.
Yeah. That I think that's what makes it such a wonderfully broad, sweeping social critique. We're not aligned so firmly with one character, that because I thought we were going to be Elizabeth. I really thought this is going to be like a masterpiece in empathy, and we're going to be taken on a journey, some kind of redemption, some kind of discovery. Nope, you're all burning.
Yeah.
And that's the way it goes.
Well, on that, why don't we take a break, Sam, and we'll come back and give our final thoughts.
Let's do her.
Come on, man. Does that thing even work? No. There's nothing out there. It's just dead air.
Do you know what this movie was? A fucking masterpiece and lesson in hip mobility.
Does that mean we're back?
No, sorry, absolutely not. I mean, we can be if you want. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, these young'uns, they've got elastic hips, let me tell you. Holy cow.
Yeah. One final thing that's just occurred to me, right? Why would Sue go and host the show? Like, Elizabeth is an Oscar-winning actress, right? Who then became a person that was in the aerobics sphere.
The aerobics entertainment industry.
Yeah. Why wouldn't Sue go and be an actor?
Her motivation is really interesting, isn't it? Because like you said, she's a newborn, fully formed human being with all of these feelings and these desires, and where does that come from? Probably her mother. So yeah, I did sort of, I saw it as like she was just grabbing the shiny thing that's right in front of her at first, and then I thought it's way more dark than that. She's trying to, there's something usurpy happening here, and there's something of youth rubbing it in the face of the old, and really hammering home how fucking old and irrelevant you are, and how young and lithe and attractive and full of hope and promise and dreams I am as a young person. And something, speaking to the indestructibility of youth. And there's a spite there, like a quintessentially youthful spite that I really enjoyed watching unfold, because it felt like such a massive fuck you to the woman who birthed her through her back. It creates such a tension and such a constant needling pain that develops into this, existential agony for Elizabeth. It's essential to the story, but I also find it really interesting as a character choice. Like you said, she could just go off and travel the world, or experience a different kind of life, but she doesn't. She plunges straight into the exact same toxic pit that her, essentially, let's just call Elizabeth her mother, that her mother spewed her out of. So fuck me, fucked if I know. But again, another thing that I really loved speculating on while watching the movie.
It's really fucking good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a bit good.
Off the back of this, do you think you would go and watch Revenge now?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a fan. I'm a convert and a fan, and I will absolutely watch it. And I'd love to listen to your podcast episode on it afterwards.
Well, you can do that. It's in the feed. A score for the Substance from me.
Go on.
Like, I think it's just really, really, really good. It's impossible to dislike a film where the climax is somebody spraying an audience with all of their bodily fluids and then falling over and exploding. Like, if it wasn't for the CGI edges of Demi Moore's disembodied head scraping its way over to her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, this would be a perfect score.
You didn't.
I think that's the one thing
slide.
that, like, no, I can't, unfortunately. Oof. And if it was halfway through the movie and the rest of the movie happened practically afterwards, then yeah. But with it being the final image of the movie, it makes it much harder to forgive.
Interesting.
So as a result, The Substance from 2024, directed by Coralie Fajar, gets 15 out of 16 swinging pendulous eyeball boobs.
What a sound when that giant ocular knocker hits the deck. Fucking hell.
It's so funny because, like, that's like, it's such incongruous Foley, but like, what noise would that make?
I don't think anyone's looking for the real. There's no roving Foley artist out in the world trying to find the actual sound that would make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, tell me your. I mean, we know what you think, but summarize it as neatly as you can, and give us a score, Sammy. As
neat as a booty pop. I'm just gonna give this a big fat 10 on 10. It's. It does its job too well to be denied. And like you, I wasn't 100% sure about that little CGI face crawl, but I thought we're in the realm of the grotesque, the ridiculous, and the mad. While it didn't look tremendous to me, it worked. I really think it worked. And I just think a movie that's this well executed, this well acted, this well directed, this well written, and this important deserves the same rating as Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I know I'm an idiot, but listen to me when I say if you haven't seen this film, you gotta go watch it. It really is an experience like no other. So I would say that because it executes its mission statement absolutely perfectly and in such an entertaining way, and says so many important things, for my money, it's a 10 on 10. 10 putrid streams of vitamin piss from the gob out of 10.
Excellent. Sam Russo says The Substance is as good as Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I didn't say that. I'd say that they both execute their mission statement equally well.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I know which movie's superior in my mind.
It's good. I'd love to hear from you if you've watched The Substance. Not you, Sam. I've heard from you.
I was going to say, do you want me to start again? Fucking hell.
Yeah, I would love to hear from you, dear listeners. You can get in touch with us at our email, finaltransmissionpod@gmail.com. Tell us some thoughts. Give us some emails. I'll read them eventually. You can also get in touch with us on our social media at FT Horror Show on your platform of choice, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can also follow Sam at his personal social media, find out what he's going on, whether he's been announced for Fest or not yet, over at Sam Russo Music. You can go to my social media at Carruthers with a Z and no E. You also can go to my Letterboxd and see what I'm rating and reviewing and watching and all kinds of things, and that's at JamieFT. And then finally, we've mentioned it before, but we'll do it again. Give us your money over at patreon.com/Final Transmission. In return for that money, you will get uncut, unedited, extra long video and podcast versions of episodes much like this one.
Find out what we really think.
Yeah.
Behind the woke bullshit.
Find out what Sam said about the Innkeepers the second we stopped recording.
I don't even want to remember. I just know I'm ashamed.
All of that and some more stuff over at patreon.com/Final Transmission. And that's it. We've got one Miggy in the pipe. How do you feel about that?
Miggy month. I've really enjoyed it so far. I can't wait to do the final movie. I think it's going to be a big one. It's been a ride so far, and I, for one, am going to take it to the finish line.
I mean, I hope so. It'd be really shit if we just stopped being
just
a podcast.
Quit the podcast.
Just now, yeah.
3 weeks into a 4-week series that's so absurdly niche. Yeah, I think we're onto a winner here. This is a good format, so let's see it out.
Yeah. If you are a listener and you wanted to program a series of 4 movies for us, I think the first thing that you should do is subscribe to the Patreon, and maybe we'll make that happen for you.
Oh yeah, no guarantees. Like, you could be full of shit and bad ideas, but if you give us money, we'll think about it.
Because that's literally it. And so then we'll be back next week with our final Miggy Month transmission. But until then, why don't you say goodbye, Sam?
Goodbye, Sam. Why don't you say goodbye, Jamie?
Okay, I will. Goodbye.